Good afternoon, viewers. My name is Ankur Saini from Global Vision Migration, and once again, this Friday we are with our registered migration agent, Mr. Saurabh Smart. Hi, Saurabh. How are you?
Very well, thank you, Ankur. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. And how's the city?
Yeah, as everyone can see, it is really cold today. It's 18 degrees here, so I think winter is around the corner. So it's gonna get cold. So that's why it's just nice and cozy here.
Okay, that's nice and cozy, and things are actually getting colder. So as the state nominations. Uh, at this point of time,
Absolutely.
we can see that there are not much news actually coming. However, today we are going to discuss the state nominations one by one, so at least we'll be having a sort of idea which occupations are actually in demand, and most of the states what exactly they are actually after, what sort of skills they are looking for in a nutshell. So we are going to start with the Victoria State nomination. Saurabh.
Absolutely. As a lot of our viewers already aware of the fact that Victoria has actually opened their state nomination, and and as they were closed last year in May 2000 in from the 1920 financial year, so there were a lot of speculations when they're going to open, when they close in May 2020, that whether they're going to open in July, August, and they almost took more than 6 months to restart their nomination process. And the nomination actually started, as you know, from the month of January, and then actually it has actually gone till this month of so they had the January round and then they had the February round, and now currently there is a window which is open for people to apply for the Victoria State nomination, and the window would be open till 9th of March, and and then they're going to do another round in the month of April, and then May, and that's it. So that will be all for this financial year, and they would have to wait until the next financial year. And we actually don't know whether they're going to open it in July or it's going to start in the next 2022. So if you guys are if our viewers who think that they are actually eligible for the state nomination, they should apply now. Do not wait at all.
Well, this is exactly what I was about to say. That if you are waiting, that means this is a race against the time, right, Saurabh? That because we've
Yeah.
been given the window until month of May, and then later on, we never know that they are going to open the state nomination after July or September, October, November. We really don't know. But if you, like all the viewers, those who are actually in Victoria, they wanted to place their ROI through Victoria State nomination procedure, then yes, request you to call to our registered migration agent, Mr. Saurabh Smar, on the given number underneath. And then, yeah, we can take your applications, and then Saurabh personally going to look after all of you. Moving forward, with
Yep.
regards to the occupations, Saurabh, well,
Mm-hmm.
most of the calls which you're actually receiving, their first question they're actually asking you that am I eligible to place my ROI? My occupation is chef or my occupation is cook. So what do you think about the trade occupations at this point of time?
Okay. So as you know, for subclass 190, the requirement is that you must be employed in your nominated occupation from last 6 months in Victoria and must be living in Victoria as well. And then you would actually have to explain to the Victorian state government why they should actually nominate you. And you would actually explain that by showing them the kind of work you did during the COVID-19 period was actually assisted Victoria either towards the health response or towards the economy recovery. So those are the things that you need to be very careful about. And a lot of people are thinking, oh, it is only for medical doctors, it's only for someone working in a laboratory. That's not the case. There have been invitations given out to people who are business analysts, software engineers. So those are the people can also apply, as long as you can show to the department that look, my contribution towards Victoria was actually quite effective, and they were actually be able to, obtain a successful nomination through Victoria Subclass 190. And if those people are currently in a living in regional Victoria, living and working in their occupation for at least 3 months, then they can also apply under subclass 491, which is regional sponsored visa by the state
Mhm.
authorities. And when it comes to nurses, so with specifically for subclass 190, there's only four categories that they have actually mentioned, which is midwife, registered nurse aged care, registered nurse critical care and emergency, registered nurse mental health, and perioperative. So these are the five nurse categories.
Well, seems like technical difficulties. We lost the
I'm back.
connection. He's back. So he's like Arnold
So,
Schwarzenegger, Terminator. I'll be
mm.
back. And he's back. Yeah, you were saying something about
Yes.
the state
So,
occupations.
yeah, exactly. So those are the five nurses occupation that they have said that they will be nominating for subclass 190. And so far, Victoria's round has been very unpredictable. So even though if you do apply, there's a lot of people have actually applied for the nomination for ROIs, and I can see that they have very limited numbers. As New South Wales is the only state who received the highest number of 190 and 491 places, and it's almost the end of financial year. It's March, then there's 3 more months and the financial year ends, and we haven't seen much invitations out yet. So what I'm anticipating is that even though if those people who have applied and they have not received their nominations or invitations, maybe Victoria might be collecting all the data now, and in the last two rounds they might be able to choose the best ones and give out the invitations then, because
Hmm.
as we can see, we haven't seen much invitations out yet. So this could be the case, but only thing we can do is we can just wait and watch and then see how we go.
Well, it is actually interesting to know that they are collecting the data, and then in month of April or in month of May, you never know. So you'll be the one who'll be
Exactly.
receiving the nomination, or someone else may be receiving the invite as well. But this is actually good to know if they're actually collecting the data, and then out of those data, if still they'll be giving some sort of like invitations to the people those who are eagerly waiting for it, it will be a plus plus. It will be a win-win situation for them, for both of them, like Victoria State, and
Absolutely.
for the occupations, like applicants as well, those who actually belongs to different occupations.
Yep.
The next state,
Absolutely.
which is South Australia nomination. This is again, I think, one of the
Yes.
complicated state till last year, but now they come up with they simplified everything, isn't it?
Exactly. Like a lot of there's a lot of doubts and confusion when it comes to South Australia, and a lot of people were confused recently as South Australia removed chef, then they added chef back in. They removed motor mechanic, then they added motor back in. Do you know what I mean? So there was a lot of confusion, speculations amongst the whole immigration fraternity to know what exactly happening with South Australia, whether they will be able to apply for that or not. And what I will do is I will also say, for example, I will just quickly go through the basic requirements for the South Australia state nomination. Say, for example, if we do choose a hypothetical occupation for the sake of our argument, we will talk about two occupations. I will start with the most popular occupation, say business analyst. All right, Ankur?
Yes, please. I was thinking about the accountants, anyways.
Oh, for account, yeah, let's do accountant because there'll probably be a lot of accountant. Okay, cool. Let's talk about accountant. As so, accountant is pretty straightforward. it is unfortunately not available for offshore, and it's only available through Talent and Innovators program. For that one as well, it's going to be really tough for accountants right now, as those people are already aware of that as well. So pretty much that was a very quick one for accountants. Let's talk about business analysts, as there's a plenty of business analysts currently in Victoria or South Australia who probably want to know exactly what's going to happen with their occupation. So if you're a business analyst and if you have studied from Melbourne and you're thinking of going to South Australia, most importantly, if you are aiming towards subclass 190, which is direct PR, you would need to show at least 2 years of work experience in Greater Adelaide or at least 12 months in outer regional South Australia. So even though South Australia completely is a regional state, but they themselves have a regional area as well. So if then you would only have to show 1 year of work experience in that outer regional South Australia. That is for subclass 190. When it comes to subclass 491, usually it's half of what you require to do for 190. Um, for if you can show that you've been working in 12 months in Greater Adelaide, then you can apply for 491 visa as well. Or you can show with just the 6 months of outer regional South Australian experience. So that is actually for South Australia nomination if you are not a South Australian graduate. And another scenario is where you actually have if you are a South Australian graduate. So if you are a South Australian graduate, then also you would require a 3 months of work experience, but there are some exceptions. Okay. Say for example, if you got 6H in your English, then you would actually have to provide 3 months of work experience in it can be anywhere in South Australia. It doesn't have to be in regional or anything like that. Otherwise, there is an exceptions available through the Talent and Innovators program, where if you have studied masters by coursework and you got a GPA of 6 above out of 7, then obviously, and then you have a 7 each as well, then you can actually apply for 190 through that South Australian graduate pathway, and you will get exemption to provide work experience.
Okay.
The same goes to if you want to apply for 491 visa, then you need to have a GPA of 5, between 5, more than 5 at least, and more than 5 GPA, and you have 7 each. You can actually apply for 491 as a business analyst by just with your studies, no need for work experience. So that is one requirement as well. And say for example, now let's talk about chef. Okay, so one professional occupation and one trade occupation. So for chefs, as you know, that chef was actually recently removed from the list, and now they have actually added back on. For subclass 190, they would need to show that the chef must be employed for at least 18 months in the outer regional South Australia, not in Adelaide, but outer regional South Australia. And if you want to apply for 491, then that 18 months must be in Greater Adelaide or 6 months in outer regional South Australia. So these are the requirements. And because this occupation is very popular, it's going to be a little bit tough for chef out there. And as I said, if you are a South Australian graduate and you did study Cert 3, 4 diploma, the whole commercial cookery qualification from there, then you can actually be eligible to apply 190 by with showing 12 months of experience in outer regional South Australia, or for 491 for 12, if you show 12 months experience in Greater Adelaide. So that means that when you do your job ready program, if you do that in Greater Adelaide or in outer regional, so you can use that experience and apply for South Australian skill assessment as well, for that state nomination. Another thing what I want to show is, I want to quickly touch on an engineering occupation as well. The most important is engineering technologist.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of professional engineers. Whoever is a professional engineer, they always end up getting a skill assessment as an engineering technologist. So for engineers who is an engineering technology assessment as well, for if you want to apply for direct PR 190 for South Australia, you would need to show at least 18 months of work experience in Greater Adelaide or 12 months in the outer regional South Australia. Okay. And for 491, it's half of that. So only 6 months of experience in anywhere in South Australia. This is for people who are not a South Australian graduate. And if you are a South Australian graduate and if you have completed an engineering diploma or higher qualifications, okay, then you could also be if then you would need to provide at least 12 months of work experience, and then at least 3 months of experience for 491 in the in anywhere in South Australia. There are some exemptions work experience available for only subclass 491. So if you are an engineering graduate for subclass 491, and if you have a GPA of 6 plus, then you can only apply 491 under engineering technologist. So these are the some of the options which are actually available in South Australia.
So there are thousands of options available, but these are few others, right? Or there are just few options available in South Australia.
Exactly.
I'm just
So
kidding at
so
this
these are
point
the
of time. I'm
few.
sorry. Because it's
Absolutely. So no, you are absolutely right.
reason being because I've seen one of the struggle here that the applicants, those who are actually eager to work, they are ending up getting the work which is actually below their skills, right? So uh, say suppose a lot of people, those who are actually working for the petrol stations, but they are skilled in these sort of scenarios. What sort of solutions, how anyways is going to be based on the individual circumstances, but in a nutshell, like on a broader aspect, what do you suggest to the people, those who are actually not employed in their own skills? Because employment,
Um,
like employer nomination visas, are again a stronger category in which they can actually get their permanent residency done.
Absolutely. So, because as you know, employer sponsored visas are actually most predominantly depending upon the employer's needs. And obviously, if an employer needs someone to help them with the business, Australian government obviously going to help them out with that as well. So when it comes to someone who does not have any work experience or anything like that, so what I would recommend that they should do in that scenario is they should actually at least they are so if someone is already studied, say they have Bachelor of Electronics and Communication from India, and they can get a skill assessment as an electronics engineer plus an engineering technologist as well, and then they came to Australia, study Master of Networking, etc. Now they are sitting at 90 points. They cannot get a job in their field. They don't know what to do. Their TR is about to expire. They want to go back on a student visa, but they want to know exactly what's happening. So what they can do in this scenario is those people. Now it's a time to change the course. Okay, the most importantly, and don't just take a course blindly, because a lot of people who came to study masters in networking, etc., they all came in very big groups. When as soon as they got here, they should know exactly, like, where the course is heading towards, because there are thousands of people studying the same course. Obviously there's going to be so much supply of network engineers as as compared to the demand of network engineers. So that means that when there is a high supply and then there is a less demand, so that's exactly what happens. Invitation rounds gets to only 4 invitation rounds in 1 year. IT people were unable to receive any invitations at all. So these things do matter as well. So what I would recommend a lot of people like these is there is a lot of other courses available, such as study a community worker from accredited institution. You can study advanced diploma of civil engineering, so you can get a civil engineering draft person skill assessment. You can study another advanced diploma of telecommunication, where you can get a telecommunication engineering assessment without any work experience. So there's plenty of options available. It's just we want to see what actually fits your position. And if And sometimes, there's a 491 family sponsor option. There's plenty of opportunities that are available. It's just a lot of people don't know where to actually, who to seek that, whom to consult when it comes to what course they choose, etc.
Yeah, this is something which is a very very difficult situation for a lot of applicants. They're nearly at the verge of finishing their 485, and then suddenly they enlighten like, oh, what needs to be done at this stage. I would say that if whenever you feel that you need some sort of assistance, always visit a registered migration agent, and they are the one those who are actually happy to guide you. Let's moving forward to NSW nomination. As Saurabh already said, that that's the state who received 190 and 491 invitations in bulk. We'll talk about what sort of occupations they received the invitations in, and why there is actually still a popular state. Saurabh.
Yeah, absolutely. As you know that New South Wales has actually got the biggest chunk of all when it comes to state nomination places, and they received like more than I would say more than 5,000 places, including subclass 190 and 491. And in the recent round, what we can see is that there were some invitations were given out, and all invitations were given out were above minimum threshold was 95 points, 90 plus 5 points from the state. So if
Mhm.
people who are waiting for the invitation, and if you have not received any invitation, that could be the case because they are actually given out invitation at least 95 plus points. And another thing is, say for example, for subclass 491, so different RDA authorities currently they are not accepting that option of accepting job offer right now. So that's going to open very soon, maybe by March or something. And then they would be also, if you can get a job offer from a regional New South Wales, then you can actually get a job offer from there and then apply based on that as well. But ultimately, it's the employment in the field that actually matters right now.
Well, see, employment is actually making a biggest change. Uh, I would say that at this point of time, let's take a couple of questions from the applicants, those who are actually listening us. Thank you, listeners. The question which we can take is from Ashutosh Bhatta,
Yep.
and the question is: I just
Just give
want
me
to
one.
ask one question. I want to know that I am primary applicant and I have assessment, me software engineer, and my partner is of software developer programmer. Mine and my partner assessment was got expired, but I renewed mine. Do I need to get my partner's assessment renewed as well?
Okay, so that's a very interesting question. That whether they want to, because the requirement is to have a primary applicant skill assessment to be valid at the time of invitation. But if you are claiming points for your partner as well, we and you would need to have get their assessment should be up to date as well. So do not take a risk, Ashutosh, because a lot of times recently what happened is we were actually working on a case for an employer sponsored visa. Okay, and then the partner also had a skill assessment. So the primary applicant was actually waiting for invitation at 95 points, and then the secondary applicant does not need to get a skill assessment done. So but they had their skill assessment. So what we did is we actually, because they had a skill assessment, we were able to apply for direct PR 186. So what I would say is, if you can get a skill assessment, get that skill assessment. So let's quickly move on to the next question from Elisa. She's a
Yeah, it
mechanical
says
engineer
mechanical engineers. Sorry.
waiting for invite since January 2020 at 85 points. So at 85 points, it's going to be tough as even like for 491 invitation that happened in the month of July, mechanical engineers receive invitation at 95 plus points. Okay, So Alyssa, I would recommend you to try to push up, get extra points and stuff. Then only you'll be able to get invitation. Where we have Marlon, who's asking about if there's any news with 190 nomination. Marlon, we haven't seen any aerospace engineers to get invitation in the last round, but as soon as we do get more information, I would certainly let you know as well. And Preetham Deb, he's asking, recently we can see some invitation under 189. So those invitation was actually for critical occupations such as nurses, etc. And there were no invitation round happen for IT people yet. So I know Pritham, you are an ICT security specialist. You would just have to hang tight and wait. Ultimately, you would have to see alternate options such as employer sponsor options. So that's pretty much all for this weekend. So what I would say to everyone is, look, I do understand it is quite frustrating, as the general skill migration program is kind of very tough for a lot of people when they're not able to actually know exactly what's going to happen down the track, whether they will be able to apply for permanent residency or not. But always seek other option. There is if you can get an employment in your field, look for employer sponsored option, etc., and then you might be able to apply for PR based on that. And that's all. And then I just want to quickly let everyone know as well. And then we have and then if you do have any doubts or any questions, make sure you send us a message or send a text message or WhatsApp us on the number below 0430081804, and we are more than happy to assist you further. Well, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us today, and we will see you next Friday. Take care. Bye.